Assemblyman Sam Hoyt is joining us from Buffalo, except from Buffalo via Puerto Rico, I should say, right?
Yeah.
Thanks very much for being here.
Good to see you.
So you had a difficult challenge this year that you weathered, and you won by, what was it, 250 votes, is that right?
257.
Sorry, don't want to rob you of those 7 votes. So you can understand what's going on in the Senate with some of these people hanging on by a thread.
I sure can. I mean, on either side of me, Liz, you'll recall in the primary, Bill Stokowski, 28-year incumbent, lost by a huge margin in the primary. And then to the north of me, 10-year incumbent Francine Del Monte lost her primary. So I was thrilled with my victory, be it a small margin or not. It was a win. And I do very much appreciate, in fact, exactly what's going on now with the Grisanti-Thompson situation, because, you know, after my declaration of victory in the primary, they immediately called for impounding the machines and you know, recounts and lawyers. Yeah. So and it's an involved process that includes not only obviously the absentee ballots, but the affidavit ballots and recanvassing the machines. And so it's long, it's involved, it's expensive.
You know, I spoke, or rather we spoke yesterday with Assemblymember Brian Kolb, the minority leader, and he said there are a number of close assembly races that are still in flux. So it's unclear if the Republicans have managed to take the veto-proof majority away from the Democrats. But he said even if not, he thought that particularly in this environment, the closer it was, that margin between the Democrats and the Republicans, that upstate Democrats like yourself would be having a harder time to vote with leadership. Do you think that's true?
I'm not sure. I happen to be an independent upstate Democrat who regularly votes against the majority, votes against the leadership. But I don't know that that's necessarily true. I'm hopeful, Liz, that with the results that we saw in both the primary and the general election, where lots of members lost their seats or came close to losing their seats, there might be a new awakening, a new sense of urgency with regard to solving the long-term problems in the state. You know, someone else said a crisis is a terrible thing to waste, and we continue to be in a crisis. We missed the opportunity when Elliott became governor, and he blew it, in my opinion. Now we've got a new governor, Andrew Cuomo. He is, without question, an agent of change. He's going in there, not with a baseball bat, but going to Albany with a very clear and set agenda for reform and balanced budgets, property tax caps, etc. It's important that Democrats show that they're able to lead, that Democrats show that they're able to not simply embrace the status quo and not simply say no to change. And I'm optimistic that we will learn from our missed opportunity with Eliot Spitzer and do it this year.
One of the people who says no and has said no to a top agenda item that Andrew Cuomo has now, that would be property tax cap, is Shelley Silver. Do you believe there will be a property tax cap vote?
I do.
You do?
I do. And I'll say this about Shelley, because Shelley gets blamed for a lot of things. I have, in my 18 years of serving in Albany, never been told by the Speaker, this is what we're going to do.
Not on congestion pricing, not on
never,
anything?
Not once. No. He might say, I could use you on this one. But if you give an argument as to why you're not comfortable with the position or why you disagree, he doesn't, there's no punishment. And so I say that about Shelley, who was blamed for UB 2020 or SUNY empowerment going down, not passing. It wasn't Shelley. It was the fact that the people supporting it, proposing it, did not convince the members of Shelley's conference to support it.
Do you think that's what this is? Do you think that's why Antoine Thompson and Bill Stokowski had such a tough time of it because of UB 2020? It was such a hyper-local issue?
That was part of it.
You do?
It certainly was part of it. But my point is that I don't think Shelley Silver is dictating to the Democratic conference we're against a property tax cap. I believe Shelley Silver has taken the temperature within the conference and believes that that's what the majority of his members support. Now, I think it's time to retake that temperature. I think a lot has changed. And I'll tell you what, if Shelley Silver feels strongly about opposing a property tax cap, but the vast majority of his members disagree with them, my instinct and my intuition tells me that Shelley Silver will go with the majority of his conference.
Do you think that Shelley Silver will be able to work with Andrew Cuomo?
Yes. Yes, I do. I absolutely do. Listen, Andrew Cuomo's agenda is about change, and some have said that he's going to be more in sync with a Republican agenda for change.
Right.
I don't think it's a partisan thing. I think it's the people of New York State, be it upstate, downstate, everywhere, would like to see responsible budgeting, would like to see reform of the way Albany operates. I think that they embrace the Cuomo message, and I think it would be wrong for the Democrats in the Assembly to simply dig in our heels and say we're not gonna
Assemblyman,
support it.
here's the problem. I mean, the Cuomo agenda also is quite antithetical to, for example, public employee unions and maybe teacher unions. I mean, you saw NYSET didn't even endorse him. NYSET has been a longtime ally of the Assembly Democrats.
Right,
so where are you going to find the middle way there?
Antithetical in the sense that he's taken the position of we can't give raises if we don't have the money. I'm sorry, but I'd like you to survey all 150 members of the Assembly and ask them that question. Should we give public employees raises if we don't have the money to give it to them? I think that's Andrew Cuomo's position, and I'd like to hear somebody, without raising taxes, by the way, without raising taxes. I'd like to hear somebody, be it a leader to a rank and file member, say, of course we should give them raises. We don't have the money, but we should give them raises.
All right, in parting, I want to ask you this. Carl Palladino, were you surprised by what happened? You probably were more familiar with him, and viewers from Buffalo were more familiar with him than others. Were you surprised by the degree to which he rose so quickly and then fell?
I've known Carl forever. Carl and I have been best of friends and worst of enemies. He's supported me. He's aggressively supported my opponents. I don't think I was terribly surprised by how his message caught on, because I'd studied the polls for a year, and I knew the mood of the public, and so I knew that message could catch on. I'm saddened by how Carl has been portrayed, and the difficult moments he's had being in the spotlight, the national spotlight, the New York City spotlight that he wasn't ever familiar with. And, something that he might say to a friend, jokingly, is then statewide fodder, and is this guy, I feel bad for the guy. I don't know that he knew what he was getting into, and I think that he'd tell you that today as well.
Well, Assemblyman Sam Hoyt is not going to be boring in Albany.
No, it isn't.
And I want to thank you in the meantime. Enjoy your stay in Puerto Rico.